Hello everybody, and welcome back to Steven's Fight Show. Alright, so Teofimo Lopez Jr. was back in action against Sandor Martin about 2 weeks ago after defeating Pedro Campa in dominating fashion, and let's just say there were a lot of negatives. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. There are so many problems within Teofimo's game and the people around him. Look at the title of this video right now. I'm saying that Teo is going through it right now in his career, but it's not his fault. Don't get me wrong, it is his fault, but not entirely. Teo just had a close fight against Sandor Martin, who's a good fighter and a good test to see where Teo's level is at among all the other fighters that compete at 140. And like I said again, he won the fight, but there is a lot that needs to be changed. So Teo won a split decision in a 10-round fight, and honestly, it could have gone the other way. I thought Teo won a close fight and won 6-4 rounds, plus the knockdown in the second round, which accumulates to a score of 95-94. And if I'm being honest, as a Teofimo fan, I'm disappointed and somewhat embarrassed for him. Like, he didn't look like the same fighter that rose to the top of the lightweight division. Like, do you guys remember when they literally promoted Teo to be one of the best prospects in boxing? And he was supposed to be like the guy at lightweight. And after he beat Loma, it looked like he was going down the right path. And then, after that fight, he takes about a year off. He becomes unified champion. He can do whatever he wants. He's champ now. So, he just takes about a year off in boxing. And, within that year, he's doing media, press runs, sponsorships. And then he decides to just fight some rando, some random Australian. He hasn't fought in a while, so cool, let's have a tune-up fight. Let's fight some random Australian. This has to be an easy fight, right? Surely it's supposed to be an easy fight. Well, you can say that again. That Australian proceeds to mess him up badly in that fight, making him think that he won the fight 11-2. And then after that fight, he takes pretty much about another year off, and then he fights pretty much a journeyman in a new weight class, and then now we're here. Notice how throughout that entire story that I just told, there's nothing positive about it at all. Teo has not been improving and developing at the rate that he should be, and it's because of a few reasons that we'll get into later on in the video. First, think about this. Teofimo is supposed to be a 12-round fighter, and he's out here fighting 10-round fights and struggling. Can you imagine if he gets in there with a guy like Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis, Jose Ramirez, Jose Zabita, Arnold Barboza Jr., and so on? You know what? That's a conversation for another day, but really think about that. Right now, let's go through the fight, and I'm not going to go through it round by round because there's just no point. And why is that, you might say? Well, I'll tell you right now, Teo's offense was completely bland and dull. There wasn't a lot of sauce from Teo in this fight. There were not enough smoke screens and not enough grenades. Can you guess what I'm indicating right now? Well, if you can't, it was the fact that Teofimo fought the same way he did in round 1 up until to round 10. There were no adjustments throughout the fight for a few reasons. Notice how I keep mentioning reasons throughout the entire video, but we will get there eventually. So starting the fight, Teo comes out aggressive, trying to attack the body with the right hand, trying to come over the top with the lead hook. His game plan was to try and push Martin back. And immediately, within the first few rounds, you can notice that Teo is having a hard time finding the distance that he's reaching so far with his right hand. Whenever he threw the right hand, his foot came off the ground so many times. And because of that, he kept falling into a shot. And when that happens, he tries to follow up with a right hand that has no power whatsoever. So Martin, being the fighter that he is, quickly capitalized and landed the check hook that knocked Teo down, and it kept landing over and over and over later on in the fight. It literally reminded me of how Rolly got slept by Tank. Rolly kept reaching with the right hand, and that gave Tank just enough room to set up a counter, and Rolly walked right into it. And it happened with Teo as well. Very little use of the jab, and it's a shame because Teo has a good jab, but he didn't use it in this fight. He never doubled up on the jab and rarely jabbed to the body. The only positive thing he did was he was able to push Martin back into the ropes. However, when he pushed Martin back into the ropes, he wasn't able to keep Martin there due to two reasons. One, he was shooting his shot too early. He wasn't patient enough. He was thinking about landing instead of how he can keep him there. He didn't slow down his pace and really think about how he can keep Martin here so he can execute his offense. 2, there wasn't enough feints and setups and enough variety to his offense. Martin knew what was coming. Either it was a straight right hand down the pipe or down to the body. That's it. And you know what he needed to do? He needed to be second. You hear coaches say all the time, oh, be first, always be first. Well, if you notice when Martin is moving on the back foot, Teo is constantly chasing him and trying to be first but he wasn't having any success with that, and in return, he kept getting countered. In the few moments where Teo actually allowed Martin to throw first, that's where Teo was actually landing effectively. Pay attention to all the times when Teo would be first versus when he was being second. You let me know which one was more effective for Teo. Because when he's being first, Martin would roll or pull straight back. Martin is in a position that Teo doesn't want him to be in. If Teo had just feinted, used more setups, throw different punches, and been a bit more patient, he would have drawn out Martin's move, which puts Martin in a position where Teo can land. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hated that double right hand combo. Like, think about this again. Imagine if he does this to a top fighter in this division. It's an unusual combo which can be effective, but my point is he never switched it up. He leaves himself open when he throws that combo as well. There were so many moments where he would literally jump into his punches as well. And I'm there like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you're in a close fight right now, and you want to be sitting up here throwing Superman punches. Like, during the fight, I never sensed any urgency from Teo, probably because he was getting caught coming in, but where was the slickness? Where was the creativity? Where was the craftiness? All of these attributes is what symbolizes the fighter that Teo is, and we saw none of it. He also kept pawing with the jab as well instead of throwing it. Like, if Martin was actually smart, he could have timed the check hook over the top that could have hurt Teo badly. It reminded me of how Canelo fought Bivol. Canelo was just using his lead hand to measure distance instead of actually throwing it to enter range. And on the defensive side, he's getting caught with fast jabs and straight punches, and he never adjusted to him getting caught continuously with the check hook. Like, you're meant to be a special fighter here. You're supposed to be the so-called fighter that's going to be undisputed at 140, but you keep making the same mistake over and over and over again. He's definitely been better defensively, and his hands were a bit low, they weren't in the right spot, and he stays on the center line for too long as well. So the fight ends, and Teofimo is asking his people, does he still have it? And you know that's bad. It's bad because when you have a lot of talent and skill, but you're questioning it, that's how you know you're heading in the wrong direction. And why is he doing that? And what were the reasons that I've been mentioning throughout this entire video? Well, it's simple. The issue is not solely on him, it's his dad. I've been saying this for a long time, ever since my last video on Teofimo. He needs to get rid of his dad as his head coach. Don't get me wrong, I love their bond and their relationship as father and son. I think that's one of the most important things to have when you have your father as a head coach. However, his father is holding him back, and it's not just me saying this, it's fans all over the world that recognize this as well. I criticized Teofimo Lopez Jr.'s corner advice in the Kambosos fight, and it was no different this time. I didn't watch the fight live because I was being caught up with UFC that took place on the same day, but when I watched the fight on my own, the reporter was asking his dad about the check hook that kept landing on Teo, and his dad's response literally frustrated me so much. He said he's not worried about the check hook and he's more concerned about Teofimo going to the body. And I'm there like, this man doesn't even know what he's talking about. He doesn't see the fact that when Teo rushes in with his head exposed, trying to land the right hand to the body, that is where Teo is getting caught with the check hook. There was a moment when Teo was asking his dad, I need to punch lower, right? And his dad said yes. And I'm like, bro, what is going on right now? No, punching lower is not going to help you win this fight. Teofimo Lopez Sr. never told him to slow down, work the jab, throw combinations, take 10 or 20% off your shots, let Martin be first, or stay patient. These are all good advice for Teo to potentially swing the fight in his favor. I mean, I'm not a boxing coach, but I believe all the advice that I just gave Teofimo right now, it's better than what Teofimo Lopez Sr. said to Teofimo during the fight. Teddy Atlas gave his input on this situation, and he said that Teofimo Lopez looks lonely in the ring, and I completely agree. His dad is more of a liability than an asset. And in the last round, Teo looked fed up, bro. The fact that he didn't even want to sit down to listen to what his dad had to say, or even give his dad any attention at all, should tell you how he's feeling. Ultimately, Teo just needs to realize that he's the one in control of his career. I've said this numerous times, but switching trainers is not a personal move. 9 out of 10 times, it's strictly business. Your corner is like your family in the ring. You need the right people in your corner when you go to war. Boxing is not a safe sport. Matter of fact, it's probably the most dangerous sport in the world. There's a realistic chance of death if you're not being intelligent inside the square circle. Just because Senior has been there for Teo for most of his career, that doesn't mean he has to stay there until Teo hangs it up. Look at Tyson Fury. John Fury is not a good head coach compared to Sugar Hill, but Tyson understands that he needs the best people around him when he goes to battle. And at times it feels like Teo is just letting his dad be the driver, when in reality, he should be the driver and his dad needs to be in the passenger seat. He has so much potential that he can't just be wasting it because he doesn't have the right people around him. He needs to do himself a favor because his career could go down a really dark route. And when I say dark, I mean dark to the point where he might be considered done at the top level at such a young age. And that would be just a borderline sad thing to see. Someone as talented, as quick, as explosive, as powerful as Teofimo Lopez, he would be considered done because he never reached his potential. Imagine that. Just imagine that, bro. But anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for listening to what I have to say. And let me know, does Teofimo Lopez need to get rid of his dad as a head coach? Do you think Teofimo Lopez can become a world champion at 140 pounds? Drop a comment and let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you guys enjoy content that is related to combat sports, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel down below. That would be greatly appreciated. And other than that, it's been Steven signing out. Peace.